What's going on, everybody? Today is October 31st. It's Halloween, but that doesn't mean we're taking a break from the Daily AI Show. We are here, we are live, and we are ready to talk about all the spooky, scary stuff that has to do with AI. And today, our topic is not Halloween, but for those that are watching the video, I've changed my background in spirit here. And gotta love ChatGPT and how easy DALL-E 3 is. The conversation today, talking about, we sort of prefaced this yesterday. We sort of talked about some of these yesterday, but our best use cases sort of revealed is what the title said. And I think it's just sort of a conversation. I thought it'd be cool to share with our audience. You know, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of hypotheticals, but like, what are we actually using today in our day-to-day lives or in business as far as use cases using AI? And I think that could be everything from a simple prompt to a full-fledged automation to maybe perhaps something even bigger and grander than that if somebody has one to share. So I don't know if anybody has their super duper use case they want to kick off with, but that's what we got for today.
Okay. I can kick it off. I've got mine ready to go. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you all. I would say my my number one use case right now is automations, right? So, and we'll go into this more on Friday, but right. I've been kind of really enamored with Respell as an automation tool. And what I think I like most about it is it's UI, it's UX, it's really easy to use. It's node based. So it's basically, if you've ever used something like Miro or a whiteboard, you're just dragging your components down onto this this main board, and you can move things around, you know, zoom in, zoom out, and then you just connect what you need to. And so here, just to give you a quick run through, this is what I use to create the transcript and summary for the show. So we grab the show audio, it goes through Whisper to get the transcript, and then it outputs that transcript. But I also have it sent into Claude. In this case, you can put in any LLM at this point, and then that sends it out to give me a text summary. And I also put a little notification thing in here to Slack so I know when it's done. And that's basically it. And I'd say this kind of automation to handle these, you know, repetitive tasks, these mundane tasks that you got to do every day, is my number one use case right now.
Now, is that automated, that first step, or do you still have to, turn it on and then basically upload the audio? Run the automation. Yeah, this is a component of what I'm building out to be a larger automation, so that once, and it really relies on on StreamYard to let it fully automate, but hopefully we'll have a solution for that soon. If I could get the whole automation, it would just automatically grab the show after it was done recording, then throw it in through the automation here, and then output it to whatever source we wanted, whether that be a Google Drive doc, or that would be directly into the show notes for YouTube, LinkedIn, or Spotify, or whatever platform that we're on. So eventually,
Jimmy, at the moment,
once those integrations are available.
So at the moment, you don't have a trigger for this particular automation.
No, I actually upload the audio for this part of the automation. Yeah.
And we can dive into Respell more on Friday too, but just for that point, any spell, which is what that was, the whole thing, they call it spell because they say it's like magic. Okay. So that's why they call it a spell. And any one of those could then be implanted, if you will, inside an automation for like a Make or a Zapier. So it's almost like a sub automation within an automation. And then you could even go further in that with what they're building an AI exchange and Promptfolio. and basically be able to implant each individual prompt into that too. So what it's giving us is just even more and more control. But I kind of love that starter case, Jimmy, as a use case, because I love what you said, which is, I think, so important, which is like, yeah, I fully intend to automate this and have the trigger kick directly. If it was up to us, it would kick directly from StreamYard and it would just run. And maybe it would push to an Airtable, you would output to this or that, or we might have a collective Slack channel where sometimes we're sharing these type of things. I've built a similar one where it creates a blog off of these transcripts. So literally after the call creates a really, really nice blog. I've posted some of those as examples on our LinkedIn page. And ultimately we would love for all that to be auto shared to all the people and all the people on this team, and then also into Slack and all these things. But I think here's a great point to this. You're not waiting for that future state. You're actually saying like, well, look, here's a smaller set that I can actually do today that is still really helpful. Is it what I fully want? No. But is it really helpful right now and takes a small slice out of my day that I would have to putting something into, like, if we remember only 2, 3, 4 years ago using like rev.com. And that used to be like, for me to get a transcript, quite literally was $1 a minute. And I had to take that video and send it to Rev. And then rev.com would turn that around in a couple of hours. And that was like 2017. Like, it's not that long ago. That was like 2017 I was doing that. So just to think from where we were there with a simple transcript to today and these automations, to me, is a huge benefit. And I think all businesses really should be focusing on getting more value out of their transcripts, whether it's their sales calls, their internal meetings, or whatever. There is gold in them hills. And if they're willing to use easy automations like this, I think they can get a lot of value out of it. Yeah. Who else?
I can go. So one thing that we've set up is, I'll share this. Share screen. I've used this one in the past, but I think it's been a favorite for our team itself. And so I don't know. Okay, so here it is.
There we go.
So what we did is, many of you know about third-party chatbots. So, and a lot of them, most of them are being used for data retrieval from websites to your files, whatever it is. But I've been really playing around with, as the poor person's version of fine-tuning that I can change pretty quick. And in this case, we spend a lot of time creating paid media content, titles, headlines, and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, you know what? I'll take the top ads, our top paid social paid search ads for the past 5 years, get a third party to ingest it, and instead of fine tuning it, because it would take a bunch of time and figure out ways to get it into Slack, it's like, I can just natively integrate this. And now our team can create a whole bunch of paid media ads plus our agency. So they either use this or they use the web version of it, which is this. And then they're just creating ads, and it can be done in different languages. So I've turned it from a data retrieval to a content generator, and it just can generate. And
I'm not following, Carl. What exactly are you talking about? I mean, I understand you're generating content, but what's the catalyst and what's the process and what the tools you're using?
So this is Slack, and all our team needs to do, it's a Slack channel. It's a private Slack channel. They go in, they ask, give me 3 options in French for LinkedIn headlines. And it gives them headlines, but because it's ingested all our ads from the past 3 years, our top performing ones, when it creates ones exactly how it's created. And we have a base prompt that, does it. And it's funny, we actually did a split test. So straight up, here's ads for paid search ads in here. No human intervention, just we took it. And then we took human created paid search ads. We ran it for several weeks. And lo and behold, the AI generated ones had better click-throughs, better clicks, total better performance.
So how are you training it? You said you were filling it with all of its previous data. So you said poor man's fine tuning, I think you said. So where's the back end of this, if you're willing to share? I'm curious.
Sure. So yeah, it's actually one of the most simple things. So here's the chatbot under Chatbase. We put settings. Actually, should be sources, and then files, and that's it.
So you just is it a Google Doc or it's a Word doc?
It's a Word doc of top Google search, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then the one thing I'm waiting for here, because we used to train it also on the website, but we have this brand refresh. So once I get the messaging from the brand refresh, I put that in here too, and that's part of the base prompt, which is right here. And then we prompted that you are a paid media copy generator, and then ensured that if you're looking to provide us, so we want to make sure that that's all it provides, nothing else. No, if you get asked a question about anything else, nothing. The only thing this does is paid media.
Have you tested that?
We did. We did. I told them, create a whole bunch of stuff. Try not to create paid media ads. And it actually does a pretty good job of it. It had a couple where it explained what a paid media ad, what they were trying to do. But most of the answers were, I'm a paid media copy generator. I can't answer that question. Or
so the big takeaway from this is to use chatbase.co to create this whole workflow, and then you integrate it within Slack as a trigger. So how did you get the Slack trigger? Is that Chatbase functionality?
Yeah, it's just a native integration. So you take the integration, hit integrations, straight up. It's pretty
cool. And I have to say, I thought I had a lot of Slack channels. I don't even know how you keep up with all that. That's so crazy. I hate that format. I want them to have all the Slack groups I'm a part of. That should be an automation, and make it so that I can answer them in one thing. I don't want to have to change to each company and look to see what I'm missing. Anyway, I don't know.
Get asked of course that
squirrel. Hey.
I'm glad you actually you just did what I was about to do, Robert, which was say, like, I know we have a bit of an audience that doesn't actually get to see us and see our shared screen. So I love that you just recapped what tools he was using to do that. So basically just Chatbase, which is a chatbot website that you can use, that you can build in, and then there was a native integration, you said, directly into Slack. So pretty simple as it goes, 1-2 step. And just for anybody's clarity here, just so I understand you, Carl, you didn't go off and write a ChatGPT or GPT-4 prompt. That prompt was written directly in Chatbase, and that's where it was pulling information. And what you were saying was, we basically told it, this is the only thing you do. We're restricting you to basically these types of answers. And, as far as Chatbase was concerned, don't give any more answers. And so you could literally run this exactly as is in Chatbase, but you were just saying, hey, like we always say on this show, go meet the end user where they're at. And if your team is actually in Slack, way more than they would be likely to log into Chatbase and use it there in a different model or a different UX, then you're saying, look, you could just do the exact same thing in Slack, which I think is a really, really cool use case. And exactly what we talk about a lot, which is like a lot of this AI stuff is great, but adoption is really, really tough. And there's a lot of pushback on adoption because people are worried about either their own jobs, they're worried about security, they're worried about a lot of things when it comes to AI. So one of the easier ways that you can help in business is simply trying to figure out how you can put these AI tools directly in front of your end users, whoever that might be at work. So in this case, marketing, where they might be working and interacting, especially in a non-siloed, work from home model that a lot of us work from. That's these areas are going to be like the break room, right? It's how we're all interacting with each other usually. What you got, Robert? So you were just sharing your screen.
So I want to start with use cases in general. So I think that as you're listening, if anybody's actually listening to us right now, I hope people are, that when you're looking
later, listen whenever you can, no problem.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about AI use cases, I want to help demystify some of it, because you can do what Carl does, very complex, what Jimmy does, and then what I'm about to show you. But I think it's more important that you start with basic stuff. Like we are actually, we have hundreds of digital marketing agencies around the world, and we're trying to get them up to speed on AI technologies. And so we've created a, for lack of a better word, a dashboard of use case examples. And we've purposely dumbed it down as low as possible for just like, this is a cool prompt. This is a way to use plugins. And right now it's just ChatGPT use cases, just to help them get their mind around it. Because right now we could list them all in a wonderful database, but they wouldn't know what to search for. They wouldn't know the terms, or because it's like such a new way of thinking. So what I'm trying to say is, before you get to these advanced ones, don't worry about the advanced, because what's going to happen when I watch Jimmy's example, my first thought is, and Andy said it too, what about the beginning, the trigger? What about the end? And so what you'll find, just like the theory of constraints in Eli Goldrath's theory, which is basically, once you've figured out a bottleneck or fixed a bottleneck, another one will rear its ugly head. Same thing for use cases. Once you've got this cool little thing, you'll think, well, how can I make it even better? How can I make it even more efficient? How can I make it so that I tap my fingers and the whole thing does, right? So you'll eventually get to a point where you've automated so much and it makes it so much easier for you. And that's where AI is constantly going to be implementable. Yes, that's a word. Because we as AI architects, we're going to be going into organizations and constantly finding these use cases and adding on to them and improving them month after month. Okay, so that being said, this is a slide from a deck that a presentation I'm doing at the Emerging Franchisor Conference this week. So one of the things I'm talking about, if you can read this real quickly, is WSI has, like I said, owners all over the world, digital agencies. And one of the things that we want to do with automation or with AI tools is to help with some of their repetitive tasks. So this is what's called the Lead Gen Genius tool. And it's basically leverages our expertise alongside generative AI and the form of OpenAI's and sophisticated data handling in order to automate a complex and repetitive task. So this is a workflow that I put together with Miro just to kind of explain this to people. And I know you can't really read it, but on the far left, you have a questionnaire input that a person will use either in a type form or a video ask or a Zoom call interview. And that is then fed into the database, which in this case is Airtable. Or if it's a transcription, that is transcribed and then added to the database. And then you'll have each one of these white little OpenAI API calls goes out for a different task. So if you did this all in one sitting, you wouldn't be able to do it because you'd reach the context token limit. So what we're doing is we're creating a very robust lead generation report. It starts with the customer avatar, then lead magnets, then email sequence, and funnel building, and then tech stack, and then actually it has a few more here that I didn't add because I didn't have enough room. But what it does is goes and does each one of those tasks with a very sophisticated prompt based on what we are trying to deliver with our franchise owners to their clients. And then once all that's done, it then assembles it in a prompt, which actually I didn't add between the blue and the red, is a prompt that kind of puts it all together in a pretty package and then puts it to a Google Doc report. So this kind of ties in a lot of the stuff that our owners are doing manually over the course of many months, allows us to systematize the IP, if that makes any sense. So any questions or thoughts on that? Yes.
How long did it take you to understand the, I guess, like that process? And then how long did it take you to kind of build around that?
Understand that process. Well, we've been doing this for years. So it's like we've already had that kind of understood of what a lead generation report looks like. But then we had to slice it up into buckets and then ask the AI to make it relevant to that client. So when the interview happens, it's like, well, what's the industry? What's your budget? What's your band? There are all kinds of questions regarding their mission, vision, and values. And so it does the job of the consultant in a much faster way. Obviously, there's a lot of that report that's manual and still human generated. But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question there, Carl.
No, it is. It is. I think like the translation there would be, and you even said it, it's not necessarily trying to do everything or automate everything in AI all at once. You have to break down these things into different steps. And even let's say you only add AI to one step, that's enough to get you started. It's like, I'm going to try to do everything at once. No. Just try to do one piece, one task, one thing at once. And then,
I have a great analogy for that. So let's say you wanted to make a chocolate chip cookies, okay, but you wanted to make every ingredient first. Like you wanted to churn the butter, you wanted to harvest the chocolate, right? So that's what we're doing here. Each one of these, I could have asked that of ChatGPT. Give me the recipe for chocolate chip cookies and give me every step to make every one of my ingredients. Like I need to get the milk from the cow. I have to buy a cow. So this particular example is the butter is one, and then the chocolate is another, and then you get every one of those ingredients farmed, and then you assemble that into another prompt that says, "Here's the recipe." So that's kind of how we're doing it. Obviously, because if you did it all in one prompt, you would lose it. It wouldn't be as effective, and you need to really give it a lot of context, like Brian was sharing earlier. Where, you have to give a lot of context for that. Even just the lead magnets. Like you can't just say, "Give me some lead magnets." You got to be like, give me context first. So it's quite a brilliant tool. We've got a lot of good feedback from it.
Andy or Beth?
So I will say that I honestly use ChatGPT all the time to interview me, right? So I'll give part of an idea and then I'll say, please ask me up to 3 questions to elicit more information or to clarify what I've said. I find that incredibly helpful in getting my thoughts put together in a way that is coherent. I also am more of low code than no code. One of the things that Retune, which is also a chat-based, which is also a chatbot program like Chatbase, Retune lets you train on YouTube videos. And so I went to a playlist that I wanted to grab, and I can share it. I don't know that it will be helpful for people, but yes. Is that it? Yes. Okay. So there's a thing called Google Colab, which are Jupyter notebooks. Yes, I realize. I'm not going to explain all of it. If you know what I'm talking about, it's very cool. It's free. It gives you access to like really, really high-end computer for free. If you go over it, obviously you pay. But so this actually went out, and I gave it the playlist that I wanted to scrape, and it scraped the individual items, and then I could go into Retune and program my bot, right? So it's taking the transcript from each of these. I did not have to grab the transcript. It's just taking it from each of these show URLs, and it lets me ask questions of podcasts that I adore and want to go back and like, okay, so what did you say about this thing again? Some of you may be able to recognize I don't have permission to do this, so I'm not identifying the podcast, but if you're a frequent listener, you probably know. And if you have a podcast, holy crap, why you're not doing this? Right? Like,
okay, yes, I need to go through
that. Say, holy crap, aren't you doing a podcast and you're not doing this? Yes, we are having these internal conversations as well.
So I have to say, you started out this, I'm not very techie, and I'm not, but then you went into very, very detailed stuff. So
no, I said I'm low code, not no code. I am
low code. Okay, low code.
I am willing to tech.
Okay.
The tech itself was written by ChatGPT.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're using, okay, I want to go back to the fact that you're going out to podcast to get. I'm sorry, you're transcribing it and then creating a bot based on the.
I'm not transcribing it. I'm just using the YouTube URL, which is one of the things that Retune lets you train a chatbot on, and it is grabbing the transcript. So I've also said that I've made chatbots based on Salesforce help documentation, right? I had it before you could make flows the way you can make flows now. I had a chatbot named Flo who helps me figure out how to make flows based on Salesforce's PDFs they hide and do not want you to find, but I did. So I'm sort of doing what Carl's doing. I'm using chatbots as like my personal content mentor, particularly subject matter expert.
Can I have access to that? Because that sounds really useful to me. Because I listen to all these podcasts. I'd love to be able to like put them in there.
We share this podcast interest. Yes, you can.
Yeah, there you go.
I would love to you show me how to do that, because that sounds really interesting.
I'd be happy to.
Very
we
nice.
have a comment in the chat. Does somebody want to answer Greg's question?
You use your own API.
Yes. That's right, Greg.
So there's kind of two questions here. Does Chatbase use your private API? Yes, you log in with your API. And then the second question is, is there a risk to confidentiality? That's a whole.
Yes, there is a risk to confidentiality.
Yeah.
Because you're not, the things that you're uploading to a third-party chatbot, unless there's a couple that are now SOC 2 compliant, but with Chatbase it isn't. So if you upload, then this is where you have to be careful what you're putting in. And even though Chatbase is like, we don't look at it, it doesn't matter. It is, your documents are hosted on another server, so it's not in your control. So you've got to think about how comfortable you are putting said document into another server. That is what you have to think about. So
yeah, and I don't know, maybe Carl, you can answer this. Does Chatbase offer the ability to sign an MSA with you?
I haven't asked for one, because for anything that's more internal, I'll build a custom one similar to Chatbase, not with all the functionalities, but I think that's why I've been exploring other options to see if they they can protect. And then there's other ones, I forgot what it's called, where they host it on your I don't know if it's your own server, but no one, because a lot of these companies, they host all your content in like a server that hosts other people's content, but they give you a single instance that they say they can't even access. So there's those options if you are really looking for like PI data or really data that you're thinking of uploading that you don't want anybody period to see.
Okay.
Brian or Andy?
Yeah, I was going to say Andy. I know we're running out of time here, but Andy, why don't you go ahead and go?
No,
and I'll share one or two at the end.
Okay, I'll do a quick summary what I think are the most prevalent applications in enterprise and in small and medium business. So, you've got probably deep in a large enterprise, you've got a huge number of people who are doing complex document drafting using bespoke large language models. So you think of a legal department that has contracts of a certain form, and all they have to do is give that to the LLM and then say with a natural language prompt, give me a draft of this for these companies and with these particular terms. And the thing spits it out literally in seconds, what used to take hours. I think that's probably the biggest value add of the large language models, at least for these sort of behind the scenes back office operations. Then you've seen some examples here of marketing applications. And, the large language models can be creative, and they can also do something as simple as, okay, draft an email for me, to this person in response to this email. And those are things that are actually starting to happen in companies. And then the last one I'll say the top three is question and answering systems. And you've seen some examples of that here today. And the main technology that's being applied there is called retrieval augmented generation. Beth showed an example of retrieving the URL and the content from a URL, and then generating answers based on that. That answer could be a summary if you ask for a summary, or it could be an answer to a specific question. And then the chatbots, Chatbase, Retune, etc., are based on you being allowed to enter documents that become the basis of the answering that the chatbot will provide in response to your queries. And that's where they retrieve it from, is they put that in a local data store at Chatbase or Retune, and those documents become the source for that generative reply based on content that's being retrieved in real time at the time of the query.
Nice.
Thank you.
I think what I would just add to, you know, everybody's thing is, you know, we've shown some slightly more complex. It really depends on where you're coming into AI, but what I would maybe sort of finish on is, you know, don't really be afraid as far as use cases to just start with a simple prompt. I think they don't get enough love because, you know, people put in 1 or 2 sentences in a prompt, they get an answer and they kind of have a, oh, that's good enough. Well, the reality is a really well crafted prompt, something that you take some time with. By the way, it's worth taking time with because it becomes the building blocks for bigger things like automations, should you want to do that. But even if you don't, you know, I obviously spend most of my time in the sales side of the world. In business. So, you know, I spend a lot of time crafting prompts that do things that go way beyond like responding to an email and these things. We have prompts that help sales leaders get their, you know, maybe poor performing SDRs or AEs or sales reps up to speed based on, you know, where they're lacking, you know, some lagging indicators and things like that that are an issue for them. We have prompts that help with tons of onboarding that can help with that. We have prompts that do everything from research and messaging, prompts that help with complex deal navigation, role playing. I mean, on and on and on. These are all single prompts. They're not chains. They're not automations. These are single prompts that are solving complex problems, but you can use them once you get those to a good enough point. They can get to a point where they're, you know, 99% effective, meaning no matter how many times you run through that prompt, you're going to get a good result out of that. And so I think for me, I could certainly talk about bigger, crazier use cases and things, but for me, it really does come back to the good old prompt, using something like a GPT-4 or Claude or whatever you want to use. Those are my favorites currently. And just really learning how to get a prompt to actually not give you just a good enough answer, but a great answer. Something that you feel like, hey, I would use this across my business over and over and over again because its total is better than whatever we could produce. And this is going to save my company time because we no longer have to do this research, whatever the case may be. So that would be it. That's my big use case, which is not the sexy answer. It's not the fun automations. It's really just spend some time making a prompt go from okay to good to great to exceptional. And that alone is probably a huge driver of ROI for a business if you just allow your workers, the people who are interested in doing it, time and space to go do those prompts and frankly be wrong and fail a lot, because that's what it takes in order to get a prompt that's actually going to succeed and be fantastic for the company. So that would be my use case.
The difficulty of writing and perfecting a prompt is going to be shortcut by the ability now of Claude and now recently ChatGPT-4 to receive a document. You upload the document in the live session in your browser, and then you can ask it to do something based on that document. So a simple example is, okay, I've got this example. I'm going to give it to you. And now write me something with these characteristics that's based on that example. That shortcuts a lot of the complexity of prompts that we can write and put into a prompt portfolio for your company. So ChatGPT-4 and Claude 2, both of them allow document upload now right in your chat flow.
Yeah, it's putting, it's supersizing custom instructions. You're able to put, or like Carl was doing, you're able to give those models a lot more information before they get started, which can be super, super helpful, kind of like in Carl's example too. Okay, well, we're a couple minutes over, so we'll wrap things up for this Halloween edition of the Daily AI Show. Don't forget, you can not only find us on LinkedIn Live daily, you can find us live on YouTube, but as we are seeing our audience grow, you can also find us on the podcast platforms like Spotify, where you can actually listen or watch, which is super cool. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, which that audience is growing as well. And then we do the replays on LinkedIn and eventually on YouTube as well. So lots of different places to find us. Week in and week out. We try to put 5 good shows out every single week. Tomorrow, we'll be talking again. We're sticking with our theme on Wednesdays of talking about AI in the news over the last 7 days. So we all come with ideas of news that's sort of spoken to us, and we don't know what the other person is going to say. So it's kind of, we're all learning along with you. And it's always a lot of fun. So that will be tomorrow. And yeah, that's it. Happy Halloween to everybody. Stay safe if you're listening to this live, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.